Love to bring to the stage my dear friend Afsaneh Beschloss, founder and CEO of RockCreek. Afsaneh, great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Great to see you.
We're in a
Thank
marathon
you very much.
today.
Thank
so
you.
I don't know how much you've heard, but we've talked a lot about energy.
Absolutely.
And what we haven't gotten to this morning is the money.
Yes.
You know, you're the money, you're the dollars, your capital, their investment, they're providing this. And so, you're just so our audience knows a little about you. Afsaneh Beschloss was formerly led the World Bank's investment and the policy work for renewable energy, power and infrastructure, pioneering investments in wind and solar energy. We just had fusion up here. How do you feel about fusion?
I'm very excited about fusion, but it is a while away. Where we look at
So it's not in your investment portfolio yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Doesn't mean it won't be soon. But when we are looking at investments in energy innovation, there's a lot of innovation that's already proven that where dollars need to flow into. So you're not taking technology risk. There is technology that's proven. And that's where we're trying to get more dollars. And while I'm an eternally optimistic person, I would say in the last 12 months, we have not seen a huge flow of dollars into that area by big investors.
Why is that?
So if we looked at the whole picture a year ago, I would have expected permitting to get resolved so that whether it's for renewable energy or, let's say, natural gas replacing coal, we would be moving really fast. I would have expected venture money to be coming in to help with things like fusion, but also some other investments. I would have expected, with the sort of American dynamism discussions, to have a lot of our engineering, getting trained, as we were talking about in the previous session. What we have seen in practice is M&A, for example, came to a stop because there was government shutdown. I mean, you can't go through regulators. You have permitting really not moving as we expected. So things are in a standstill, plus, what you hear, and you have had these conversations through the day today, for CEOs to invest in their businesses and then for us to invest in those businesses, you need some long-term policy. Look at the Chinese, they have a 50-year policy. We don't even have a quarter by quarter, and every administration that comes flip-flops on energy. So it makes investments go much slower than what we really need.
Were you blown away by how successful China has been with its long-term strategies? Because I have to tell you, you and I are same age, and being around, you're studying sort of non-market economies. Absolutely. And how they're working, and you'd see communist, control systems and what their long-term plans were. I never believed them. I always kind of thought they were fake. But turns out they did better than some of us expected.
Well, I think two things. One is if you looked at China, let's say about just over 20 years ago, their GDP was about a tenth of ours. Today, it's 2/3, and it's not impossible it could overtake us. What happened there is, as you said, we both would have expected that the communist system would slow things down, and it has to some extent. But the way we helped them grow, I mean, look at Sequoia. Right. The conversations you were having earlier on NVIDIA providing chips or not chips. Yeah. We are making it easier for China to grow faster. And the Chinese themselves are making long-term plans, so they're making it easy for themselves to grow. So those are the forces, and during the Deng Xiaoping period, obviously there was openness, so people felt good about that. Since President Xi has been there, first he started talking down the private sector, but he has changed that. He's trying to attract all the scientists that we're trying to get rid of, he's trying to attract. So, the way they've mixed their system with our system has been very not what you and I would have expected probably 20 years ago.
Now, you're one of the leading investors and economic brains in looking at decarbonization. Yes. and basically clean energy innovation and solar and wind and biofuels and other kinds of things of this sort. Where is that on the energy map today? I mean, I know at the federal level there have been some shocks there. Yes. But does that mean those investments and that commitment is gone?
So it's interesting. It's a little bit all over the place, unfortunately. It would be good for investors to see some clear direction. We have made investments that were getting, some money from the DOE early stage companies, where they were getting money from the DOE 2 years ago, and they got very bigger checks now in the last few months. Other companies where they got involved in politics, they're equally good companies, but if they had the wrong word in their website or the wrong word in their name.
Like you can't say sustainability.
You cannot say sustainability. To me, sustainability to me is essential. What does sustainability mean? It means our businesses being sustainable in the future, right? Like, how could anybody have a problem with that word? Even if you're against all the other things, like the C word, like climate or whatever, your business has to be sustainable. The Chinese have learned that. We have learned that, but now we've made that into a political term. Sustainable means your business has to run. So going back to the point you're making, we work with some of the US major airlines, and they're continuing. So the positive thing is they're continuing to put the same dollars on clean fuels, on reducing waste, using AI and innovation, on improving aviation efficiency, which then reduces all the energy use. We work with a lot of utilities where we're investing in new technology to improve their the transformation system, and also new technologies to use electricity in manufacturing. So all of those things are going on, but not at the scale we need.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Georgette Mosbacher, who is a former ambassador, but she's very interested in AI and the rewiring, and then Jim Baker, who was at the Pentagon for many years, the successor to Andy Marshall, who was the head of net assessments in the Pentagon. Because there's another side of this, which is the geostrategic race, the importance of AI, what we're trying to get right, what the consequences are. And it just sort of feels like we're in a griddle, and it's heating up. How do you see the AI race, the energy needs, and the capital side of that equation?
So on the AI, obviously, we have the tale of two economies in our country right now. AI is getting a lot of investment dollars. The majority of growth in US stock market has been around the AI growth this year versus other sectors. So there is definitely capital going into it.
Is there too much capital going into it?
It's probably not as efficient as you would like, but that's difficult, in these stages of growth.
So it's going to blow up?
Exactly. We were early investors in OpenAI. I hope it doesn't blow up. I hope that Sam Altman concentrates on OpenAI versus trying to now go after rockets and competing with X Energy. But so people do get distracted in these sorts of areas. But
so
I think
you can tweet, Afsaneh Beschloss says to Sam, "Don't get distracted." Right?
Yes, concentrate on the main thing you said 10 years ago to us.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of the dollars going in, what is happening again is we are competing on AI with China. Our engineering schools, not just MIT, but look at the engineers we're producing in the University of Illinois system. We work closely with IIT and RPI. Amazing women, men engineers that are going in. They have a first quantum computer at RPI and of a university. But if you look at AI, we're making progress. If we look, by the way, you didn't ask me about quantum, but quantum, we're not there. The Chinese are starting to eat our breakfast and lunch. But on energy use, no question. On power, the fact that we stopped so many power projects in the last year because they were called clean versus not, just doesn't make sense, right? You need all the power that you need.
All the power from wherever it comes.
Whatever.
I'm going to go to Ambassador Mosbacher and to Jim, because I know they have interesting perspectives.
To that point,
we
can all agree that the only carbon neutral energy today that can give you a consistent base load is nuclear.
Absolutely.
All right. We've got China building several dozen nuclear. We've got Russia.
Yes.
We don't have a single one being built in the United States. How do we attract private capital to nuclear investment? Because we are so far behind. And if we're going, all this AI, all this Bitcoin takes an enormous amount of energy. If we're going to be competitive, we're going to have to get
And that's what most of the morning's been about. So what's the thought?
No, I think on nuclear, you're absolutely right. There is modular nuclear that is getting some capital. It's very small scale. It's moving slowly. On large nuclear, we certainly are behind. I mean, we need two things. We need capital, and we need the engineering skills, and we need all the other support technical skills. The Chinese have they're so far ahead. The Russians, I remember going to to look at where they made the site, where they make their nuclear plants. That's probably not where I would worry. They had cats walking in that plant. Anyways, but going back to your question, that capital has to come from the public sector, because private sector is not looking 20 years ahead. Building one of these is going to take how long? So,
Public sector do to put into place incentives.
absolutely.
Private sector to invest.
Exactly. Just like the public sector has provided incentives to the oil and gas industry, why not provide those incentives to the nuclear industry? Because we do have a burgeoning nuclear industry, and there is a number of companies that are trying to do exactly what you said. Charles Oppenheimer, the grandson of, has been trying to improve policy and to sort of get capital into this, and we're working with him, but it is moving very slowly. So my question would be, why don't we move some of that capital for oil and gas that doesn't really need it to nuclear?
Let me go to Jim Baker, who used to head net assessment, my favorite office in the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
If you don't know it, read about it. It's the coolest spot in government. But Jim?
Well, first, I think it's very important that we all take a second and recognize possibly the best moderator on the planet, Steve Clemons. 2.5 hours, high energy, unbelievable. Ma'am, thank you for coming, and my question to you is this. In the last 5 years, what is the best and worst policy you've seen from the US government and the Chinese government with respect to energy? Best and worst in the last 5 years for these two competitors. Thank you.
So I've always been in awe of you, and it's very nice to meet you in almost person. Hard question. I think on the best and worst, what the Chinese did is they started doing clean energy and using, investing in rare minerals in a way that nobody thought made sense like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, right? And today they have cornered that market. Are they doing it the most efficient or the way that is, makes sense from a business point of view? Maybe not, but they're eating up that market in a way that nobody else is. And they know that the health impact, if you add the health impact of not clean energy in your environment, they're living that problem. So I would say their best and worst is the same. Their best is that they invested and they're far ahead of the rest of the world. The negative in China is that initially in their manufacturing, they didn't care, and the use of coal in China is killing people, just like in India, et cetera. If you come to the US, I think we had such a great chance to all the things we were so far ahead on AI, right? It's really started here. We needed power. We did not have a power policy. So whether it is in production or getting power to places or growing power in an efficient way, we have fallen behind the last few years in both administrations. There was a lot of talk. We had the IRA. It could have done so much. And it all ended up in conversations and very slow actual implementation. We've had a lot of conversation in the last 12 months. It's not moving fast. Sure, we have limited capacity in building combined cycle for natural gas or other forms of clean energy in the US. But are we direct? And so, when we hear that one company is now building its data center and its power around it, it just means somebody else is not getting it. It's not a net growth. It's a net zero thing because we don't have the capability to make more in this country. So I think we really missed on that.
Let me ask you, this may be an unfair question, we've just got a minute, but do you think the renewable energy sector has been ineffective at developing the same kind of hardcore, transactional, winner and loser strategy? I ask this because when I asked President Kagame of Rwanda what made Trump different than some of the other presidents he's dealt with and why is he here, he said, because he's a complete objectives-driven transactionalist. He's not lost in, versions of what democracy means or what a human rights mean, like all of these like larger concepts that I think many of us may care about. But he said he's going for, you know, hardcore, ruthless transaction deals. And when you kind of think of the oil, energy, fossil fuel sector, you know, you might say that that's been part of that equation. Whereas we've loaded up a lot of the renewables with a lot of other meta topics.
Thank you.
And has that been a problem?
Absolutely. I think it's great to say that President Trump is great on transactions, and he's great. I mean, real estate gave him that strength. Transactions does not mean good economics. Renewables are very good economics, whether it is nuclear or solar, wind, many other forms of clean energy. And I think that part he has missed, with all due respect. Now, why are we not moving fast? It's not President Trump. If I chair a number of investment committees at universities and at big foundations. Everyone thinks it's the red state. No, talk to the chief investment officer of any endowment and foundation, the Ivies. Right. Ask them how much they're investing in these areas. Zero. Because that renewable sector keeps on talking net zero climate, not economics. The economics of renewable energy got to be very strong 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it is completely competitive. But if you do not talk about the economics and you only want to talk about the social goods, which I'm a big believer in, but that's an ancillary, not the driving force.
So everybody, there's some tough love from Afsaneh Beschloss, founder of RockCreek. Let's give a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Afsaneh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.